Hi, this is Monica from Oma's Place. Today I would like to explain to you how to do one of our Nordic mug rugs. I assume you have purchased all 4 of them. You have purchased the kit. And let's make sure that what you have in your kit is all that you need to have, okay? You should have your written instructions, all nicely stapled. You should have a sheet that has all 4 cards on it. They all say the same thing. You will have to cut those out, please, as you need them. You will also need to have your centerpiece for the mug rug, your backing that's already been put together for you with tape in the front and the back, and steamer seam 2 in between. Then you should also have 4 corners for each mug rug and 2 border strips on the side. Does that mug rug look a little bit more complicated? Are you concerned about it? Don't be. It's really easy, and I'll show you how. Then you also should have a piece of fusible fleece. It has been rounded off on the corners. And why do we do that? Because we don't want bulk in these corners. And so when you're turning, then in the end turn the mug rug right side out, you won't have much bulk there because of that. In addition, you should have 1 piece of fabric that's already been bonded in the back, and that is for the applique piece. Okay, hope you have all of that. While I'm going to be demonstrating how to actually do the mug rug, I have somebody here with me, my friend Esther. Esther is no stranger to sewing, but Esther is a stranger to machine embroidery, right, Esther?
Absolutely, never done it before.
So I'm going to explain to Esther how to do this. And Esther will ask me whatever questions she may have. And I hope that some of you that are new to this whole idea of mug rug in the hoop will learn from that as well. And those of you that have done them for a long time, well, I hope you learned some new tricks. Okay, the very first thing we need to do, of course, is load the design onto your machine. And all of our machines are so different. I have done that already on my machine. And the next thing is you need to hoop a stabilizer. You have a choice of stabilizer. You can have this one, which is your tearaway, which is basically just paper. You can also use poly mesh, which is really the preferred way to go. What's the difference between those two? First of all, this is paper. So when you put paper inside a mug rug, that's what it is. And with multiple washes, I let you figure out what happens to the paper inside the mug rug. It does give the mug rug a little bit more substance when you use this, but the substance won't last very long. Polymesh is a woven stabilizer, and it just really acts like fabric. If you feel it, Esther, can you feel it? It just feels like fabric, doesn't it?
Yes, very soft.
Yeah, very soft. So when you put that inside the mug rug, you really won't even know that it's in there. And that's why this is really the preferred way to go. Now, in preparation for all of this, I have a confession. And you know what the confession is? I like this stuff. It's called 505 Spray and Fix. It's a spray adhesive.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it? It's odorless, it's colorless. Now, a lot of the machine dealers will tell you don't ever use spray. And if you feel very strongly about it, you can do what I'm doing today where I use spray. You can just go and use painter's tape, okay? I just find that I get a little bit more adhesion when I use the spray. So, first thing I said was to hoop your stabilizer. I'm doing that. And it might feel strange to you that I'm going to have my first color stitch onto the stabilizer, not onto just a little bit of the spray, and I'm going to put that on here very lightly. Notice that I'm away from the machine. Don't ever spray close to the machine. And I'm holding it over a trash can. Actually, a lot of times I will actually take the hoop into the trash can and spray there so we don't get much overspray. Okay? All right. Now, Esther, how about putting the piece of fusible fleece right there? Putting that inside here, inside the lines.
Does it matter
And-
which side is down?
Yes, you need to have the adhesive side up.
Okay, that's the rough side.
Right. What we are trying to do is we're trying to have this adhesive glue bond to the center fabric in a little bit.
Okay.
And it will just make sure that when you wash the mug rug later on, it won't crinkle up because it's fused to that fleece.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. And now we're going to put this back on the machine, and what it will stitch is the center, the crosshairs, so we can place the center fabric perfectly centered. Okay, so we'll be right back
Okay.
again. Okay, what we have here is crosshairs right in the center of this fusible fleece, and that will allow us to place the center fabric directly into the center. Esther has folded this piece of fabric in half again, and she's placing it on there, making sure the centers are right on top of each other.
Is that okay?
This looks great, Esther. And then we're going to tape this down along the edge. You can do the other one there. And you will have to tape it down to the frame, I'm afraid. Okay, we are ready for the next step. Hold on just a minute. We go back to the machine. And here we are. See what we just stitched are the guidelines with a center mark so that we can place the corners just perfectly where they need to be. But before we do that, I'm going to be stitching on the machine the quilting stitches in the center. So I'll be right back, okay? Okay, what you see here is what we just finished on the machine. We have the placement guidelines, and then in the center we have the quilting stitches. Now, see these corners here? We would like to replace them with this fabric. And what we will do is to decrease the bulk. We're going to be cutting out the corners. And I'll show you in just a minute how to do that. What we have here, remember the adhesive Esther, that we have on there? Well, that adhesive will have, when we put the corners on, we need to have that adhesive available so we can iron it down onto it and it stay in place, it won't move, and it will look nice and smooth when we are all done. Okay, so what we will do is now we will trim off these corners, and we'll do it to all four while we are at it. See the little notch here? Can you see that? Okay, that's our center line, but it's also going to be our folding guide. We kind of fold the fabric up to that notch, and then with small little scissors with a curved tip going up, you just go along this line. And it doesn't have to be super accurate. It's going to be underneath those other corners, so you don't have to worry about that, okay? So I'm going to let Esther do one here. Just fold this back up to the notch.
Hard to get down in there.
It's a little hard to get in there at times, isn't it? That's why those curved tips really help.
I'm not working as smoothly as you did.
Oh, you're doing wonderful. Okay, now, see this here? One might be tempted to cut that too. Don't cut it. We will need that. If that's not there, the whole thing will fall apart. So be sure that you keep these tabs at the end in place. Hi, we're back. See? We trimmed away all four corners and left the little tabs at the end here. Very important, or your mug rug will fall apart, so please don't trim that away. All right, next comes putting on the corners. And you may have noticed that my frame actually goes horizontal. I bet yours goes vertical. And when it does that, it gets to be a little confusing to a lot of you. So in your write-up, I've given you a little diagram that shows you which corners we're working on first. We're working on opposite corners, so we're working on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll take the corners, fold them in half along the long side, fold them in half, make a little crease in the center, and then place it right up against the first line. Now when you do so, make sure it covers it, okay? Because I only put very small seams in there. And then we're taking tape, and we're taping down one corner, and then we are taping down the next corner. And now I'm going to see whether Esther would like to do that.
Okay. Just covering the red stitching?
Just covering the stitches, right, of the guideline.
Like that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and sometimes I
This
put...
doesn't look lined up with that.
And
Should it be?
Yeah, it should be. And just a little twisting there. It's lined up there. I think that will do.
Okay.
There we go. All right, and off it goes to the machine again. Okay, we're back. We're now going to be removing the pieces of tape. And we're going to take each corner and fold it back. And then you want to finger press the edge. And take another piece of tape. I find that a lot of times when I use it more than once, it kind of loses its stickiness. So we are taping it to the sides. And if you remember to plug in your mini clover iron.
Too close?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I can do one up on the frame there.
Okay.
Now I forgot to do that, so mine is not hot yet. But you would take the mini clover iron, you'd go along the edge here. And remember that we had the adhesive side up of the fusible fleece, and when I do that, it actually makes the fabric adhere to that fusible fleece. And it just provides a really nice and smooth look. Okay, we are ready for the other corners, Esther.
Okay. No, I'm not doing that right, am I?
Yeah, you are. Just right up this line and like that, and then you're going to take that and place that up there. Yeah, and it's a little bit off because what you're doing is when you find it disconcerting and you go, it doesn't seem to be in the center, it's because what you're looking at, you're thinking of it needs to be here, but the center needs to be there, going to this corner, not to that corner, and they are not in direct line from each other, okay? So just follow my guideline, and
We're taping on the corners here.
on the corners, right? I really should invest in painter's tape. The way I use it. One in the center, and
Okay.
back it goes on the machine. See you in a minute. Okay, here we go again. We're going to remove tape, and we're going to flip those corners back. wonder whether my, almost said curling iron, whether my mini clover iron is hot by now. Let's see, you're going to do this one over here. There.
Oh.
And then this one needs to be taped down too. Yeah, got a gift for you. All right, let's see. Maybe. Okay, now in order to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to be staying, I'm going to go back to the machine and I'm going to stitch a tack down stitch all around just to make sure it all stays where.
Okay.
Plus that tack down stitch then will give us a guideline for placing our little border strips, okay? All right, be right back. Okay, you know, we tacked it down now and we took off the tape and we are now ready to apply our little border strips. And we created these lines, right? Well, they're just perfect as a guide for the placing of the border strips. So we are placing the border strips, centering it, and the border strips goes right up. Can you see this here? It goes right up against that line. And we've made sure there's about equal amount of fabric on both sides. Thank you. We tape it down at the ends, and we do the same on the other side. We'll take this to the machine now, and what it will do is it will stitch down the border. I'll be right back. Okay, we are taking off the tape as we tend to do and getting rid of it. Now, I want you to look at this here. See all of this? That's going to create a lot of bulk in the seams unless we do something about it, and we are just about going to do that. So we're going to use our little trusty little scissors, and we are going to be trimming away just the excess right here up to this little seam allowance. Okay. So if you do one side,
there we
I'll
go.
do the other one.
Let's see if I can get it. Want to make sure you don't cut that fusing.
Yeah, it would be good not to cut into the fleece. It isn't a major problem, but it would be a problem if you cut away the tab that's behind it.
Oh, okay.
So you want to be
Almost
careful
did.
that you don't cut into that. And it's easy to do that, so be sure you fold your fabric back when you get to the center to make sure you don't cut that. Hey, Esther, you're faster than I am.
Oh.
We can't have that.
I'm improving.
All right, now that we have done that, we also have made available, again, the fusible fleece and the adhesive from that. So we can fold this back, finger press it along the edge.
This looks like
That's okay.
it's okay.
Yeah, it'll be all right. Finger press it. And put a piece of tape at the end there. Then I'm coming in with my trusty clover iron, and I go along the edge. Put it away. All right. Now we want to tack down this so it stays in place and doesn't move, because what you're about to do then in just a minute is put on this rickrack. If we don't tack down these borders, they're going to be moving and they're going to be causing problems. So we're going to tack them down. So what we did here is we tacked down the border, did the stitch at the side, the rickrack, and isn't it nice to put rickrack on and not have to worry about the edges coming off, and it's such a pain to do that by hand. And then we went ahead and stitched the outline for the mittens and the little bow tie at the top. We are now ready to place the applique fabric. Okay, this piece of fabric was bonded ahead of time, and I was a bad girl. I took the paper off already and don't know where it is right now. So you will probably still have the paper on the back. Be sure to peel it off. You don't want to have the paper underneath. Now, depending on what bonding agent you use when you do it without our kit, it may have stickiness to it or not. For example, Steamer Seam 2 does have a certain amount of stickiness to it. You won't have to do anything but place your fabric. I don't use Steamer Seam 2 for this one. In your kit, we are using something called Soft Fuse. Soft Fuse is a very soft bonding agent, makes the fabric very, very pliable, and it's very nice to use, but it does not have the stickiness. So in order to create just a little stickiness, you know what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to use just a little bit of spray adhesive, put it on the back, and place my fabric over those two mittens. Press down on it. Now let me tell you something. You may be tempted to leave, when you're doing this yourself with your own fabric, you may be tempted to leave the bonding agent off. I highly recommend to put something in the back. Why? When you wash it and you don't have something behind it that keeps it in place, you will end up with a wrinkly looking applique. So be sure that when you're doing it, after you're done with your kit fabric and you want to make some more and you're using your own fabrics, be sure you bond the applique fabric. You'll be so much happier with the end result. Okay, we're ready to put this on the machine and tack it down. Okay, we are back. See, the mittens were tacked, the fabric was tacked down in the shape of the mittens. And what you will find with my applique is that I use a triple bean stitch. Why? Because when you do trim around it, if you nick it just a little bit, you don't lose all of your stitching around here. You will lose just a little bit of it, but not all of it. And to me, that's very important. It allows me to get just a little closer
Really
when
close.
when I trim it. So let's see if we can do this at the same time, trimming away.
Let me watch you a little bit first.
Okay, how about that? Might be easier. I'm going to go, and I don't know whether we can show this to you. First of all, when you hold this, hold the tips up. If you're holding it down like that, you're likely to cut into the fabric. So the tips should be up, and you're going really close. Hold on to the fabric here, pull just a slight bit on it, and trim away. Now I have good news for you. I usually make my applique edge heavy enough with stitches that there aren't a whole lot of pokies, but you need to do your part too by trimming as close as you can, okay? Okay, so we go all around here, and we'll do this to both. I put this back on the machine, and we'll be stitching the decorative trim onto the gloves. Now I have a little bit left here in the corner, and I'll have to go back in there and get rid of that. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Esther. Okay, I'm going to let Esther do the second mitten. Before we go on to the decorative stitches on the mitten, please use your Clover mini iron. Again, if you're pressing it at this point, the bonding agent behind the fabric will make sure that the mitten fabric stays in place when you put those decorative stitches on. We finished the trimming of the mittens, and now we are pressing down the fabric so that it adheres to the center fabric. And we're ready to put the decorative stitches on. And here we are. The mittens have all been finished with a nice satin stitch around it. You have only one step left. Isn't that exciting? Now what you have left is putting the backing on. We've done the work for you. You can see there is steamer seam 2 in there. Don't remove the paper backing on this until later. You will then also find that this is covered and the back is covered. The front is covered and the back. The reason is, in the front it keeps the fabric in place. In the back we placed it so that when you go around with your embroidery machine, it's not as likely to get, the foot is not as likely to get caught underneath the seam here. Okay? And there is a 1/2 inch overlap right here of the 2 fabrics. Okay? We're going to put it on here. Look at that, it matches up just fine. We're going to secure it with pieces of tape.
I'll do some along those sides
Yeah.
too. Okay.
I'm going to do this up here. This one is a little harder because the fabric comes up there. Okay, we'll put it on and then we are done. We are done with the machine. Isn't this exciting? You want to see what it looks like? Still have to do a little bit of work here, but before you know it, yes, please take this off. Before you know it, you'll have your finished product here. Take off all the tape. Amazing. Just about everywhere.
Oh,
Sticks to you.
is that okay if it stays in, or do you just rip it out?
Just
Okay.
rip it out. Yep, just rip it out. And then, if you have used paper, the tear away, you can just tear it away from the outside of the embroidery. Okay? With this, we are just going to trim it away with trimming the seam allowance. You want to trim everything to within about a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch max seam allowance. And you can see I'm just trimming away the poly mesh at the same time that I'm trimming the fabric. Since it acts like fabric, we are going to treat it like fabric. Okay, and go across the corners as well. Trimming fairly close, but not very close. There we are. Okay, now comes the unwrapping of the present. You want to turn it right side out?
Okay.
Now, I have here a medium, maybe large size crochet hook. And you might have wondered, if you've noticed it, what on earth does she have a crochet hook for? Well, you know what? I like a crochet hook because I'm going to use it to get into these corners, and I'm going to push the corners out. Have you ever used a point turner that is sharp at the end and pushed a little too hard? And
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
I have too, Esther, and it was not a happy moment in my life. So this one is rounded, and you can really put a little pressure on it and it won't make a hole in your corner. And so what we have left to do is to iron this. And the way we're going to iron this, leave the paper in place for right now. Iron it by folding this exactly how you want that to look. Okay, that edge, and iron that edge. Iron up to the center from here to there. So you're doing all the sides here first, and on this side, and then you flip it over and you will remove the paper that's on there, take it off, and fuse it together in the back. And that's it. What do you think? Was this a fun project?
Very fun, and it turns out so nice.
And
Very pretty.
And you know what? Once you start making these in the hoop projects, you will be hooked. I promise you. Because every time that you come out with a finished product that looks like you bought it in the store, it will just be a reinforcement for you to want to make some more. I hope you all have benefited from this, that you have enjoyed this project. Let us know if we can help in any way, or let us know how you felt about this project. We always enjoy customer feedback. And Esther, thanks so much for doing this with me.
Thank you for showing me.